Right, before I start ranting and raving as usual, let me just emphasise that I have been a gamer since I was a blooming kid. You know, playing Pac-Man on the on the Atari, bloody, oh, mummy on the Spectrum. I've played blooming, you know, I begged and pleaded with my mum for a Nintendo and a PlayStation at that for Final Fantasy. You know, and you know, there's very few consoles that I haven't actually owned. You know, I mean, only things pretty much like the Mega CD, the bloody, you know, the Sega Saturn I didn't own. Dreamcast I didn't own. The Dreamcast was mainly down to how many bloody bugs it came out with, though. You know, and the Xbox, the first Xbox, I never owned, but that was out of principle because they lied about the fact that they were making it. Every single time that people were catching on to the fact that they were making a console, they started lying, saying, "Oh no, we're not, we're PC blooming people." So down to their attitude of lying about the fact that they were making a console, out of principle, I chose not to buy it. But you know, today's gaming industry, as much as I love games, is really starting to get on my nerves. You know, the attitudes of some of these major companies like blooming, you know, EA, Activision, Square Enix, they're really starting to do my head in. I mean, I posted a rant before about Square Enix, so I'm not going to go majorly into that because it's like it's there in my other bloody video. And the only reason I'm so upset was because of how much I bloody loved Squaresoft. You know, I begrudged the merger when I heard about it because it was like, well, no. I knew from minute bloody one that it was Enix that would benefit more from that merger than Squaresoft, and I was so devastated to hear about that merger. You know, it's just, you know, their attitude these days, the major companies' attitude these days is really starting to get on my nerves. You know, I mean, you'd think that they would pay attention to things blooming that the fans try to tell them of why they're upset with them and blooming everything. You'd think that they'd actually listen to them, considering the fact that it's us that keeps them in business. If we didn't buy their games or their DLC or their merchandise of any bloody kind, you know, they wouldn't be as big as they are today. We made them successful, you know, and we're just as capable of making them bankrupt as we are of making them successful. And it's about time they started realising that and stopped treating their fan bases like shit. I mean, Square Enix especially, you'd think that they would have paid attention during the whole Mass Effect 3 fiasco because, you know, BioWare was a major RPG company. They were a major RPG blooming company. They made blooming tons of RPGs before bloody Mass Effect. And you think that they would have paid attention to how the fans reacted to being treated like shit during that whole fiasco, because it's like, I mean, look what's happened to EA ever since Mass Effect 3. You know, they pissed off their hardcore fan base, you know, to the point where they ended up splitting in two come the end of it. Those that that liked the middle finger extended cut DLC, you know, and those that hated it. Those that hated it pretty much turned their backs on them. They pretty much turned their bloody backs on them, so they've lost sales on games and merchandise. They've lost sales on their games, on their merchandise, you know, and it's even gone so far as EA being voted worst company in America ever since. Every year since Mass Effect 3, they've been voted the worst company in America. And the very first time that during the Mass Effect fiasco, the very first time they got voted the worst company in America, their stocks plummeted. They went down. They went down to rock bottom bloody level. They went down very bloody low. It was a massive plummet in stock bloody intake. You know, people, their shares have gone down to the lowest of the bloody low, and people these days are reluctant to invest in them anymore because they keep getting voted worst company in America because of how badly they pissed off their fans. You know, and as a result, they've lost money on the shares and stock blimmin' intake. They've lost money on DLC. They've lost money on merchandise. They've lost money on game sales. You know, they've lost all this money, millions and millions they've lost since Mass Effect 3 was released. And you would think that other companies, considering the fact, like I said, Square Enix especially, you know, BioWare was a major RPG company, so they were going to be, they were competition for them. They were competition for them, so you would think that they, you know, being a major company, that they would keep an eye on their competitors. They'd keep an eye on their competitors and what their competitors are bloody doing. So you would have thought that they would have been paying attention to exactly how badly they were losing out as a result of Mass Effect 3. You would have thought that they'd have paid attention to that. But no, they're making just as many mistakes as BioWare made. You know, their attitude towards the fan base of not listening to them and basically just looking at people like they're there to be milked of their cash. Oh yeah, we'll release all these different games, blimmin' and whatnot. We're not going to do them very well, but we're going to re-release them and blimmin' everything because the fans will buy them. Attitude is taking the piss. I mean, okay, major spoiler alert coming up here. So if you haven't played and completed Kingdom Hearts 2.5 for the PlayStation 3, I suggest you I suggest you either stop watching or forward this video, because I'm going to be giving away the ending to Kingdom Hearts 2 here, so just so you're all aware. But anyway, you know, them changing the ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 just so that they could make number 3 has really upset me. I mean, it's like, what? Did all the people with any degree of imagination leave when Hironobu Sakaguchi bloody left the company? You know, I mean what? You know, they changed the ending of number 2 just so that they could bring back Xemnas for number 3. It's like, I mean, what? If you wanna start milking Kingdom Hearts, you know, you want to start milking bloody Kingdom Hearts because you haven't got any imagination bloody left, and the only ones with any real imagination left the company because they saw the way that the company was headed. They saw them starting to develop the milk the fan base bloody attitude, and they didn't like it, so they left. Founded Mistwalker. You know, but it's like, you know, where's the imagination? If you want to make a Kingdom Hearts bloody 3, I mean, what? You got the whole Keyblade bloody wars and whatnot. I mean, look at that bloody video of the end of the bloody Keyblade wars, with blimmin', you know, them introducing is it the Lingering Will? I haven't beaten that boss yet, but I am getting ready to bloody go and have a go at him. But you know, it's like, you see that bloody, you see that battlefield and all those bloody Keyblades around, and those 3 warriors bloody left in the centre of them. And it's like, well, if there's that many bloody Keyblades, you know, I assumed there was just as many people involved in the Keyblade bloody wars. So it was like, well, you know, why not bring in another bloody villain to replace Xemnas? If he was part of the bloody Keyblade wars, I mean, what about bloody bringing in a number bloody 2 to bloody take his place, you know? I mean, it's Organisation 13 during bloody Kingdom Hearts 2, during the Kingdom Hearts bloody, or between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, had a civil war amongst themselves. That Marluxia bloody guy tried rallying bloody people to take over the organisation, and got himself, you know, battered as a result. You know, so we didn't get a proper chance to take him out because the organisation pretty much took him out. You know, so what's the difference with having someone else blooming take over from Xemnas? You know, I just don't get it. You know, no imagination. You know, they pretty much, you know, Square Enix pretty much you know, demoralises anything even remotely related to Hironobu Sakaguchi and whatnot these days, or them that left the company, anything to do with them, they want to pretty, you know, they got the, you know, they're coming across with the attitude that they just want to destroy it, because they don't bloody like bloody how loyal the fan base is to those games, and him, because of bloody how amazing he made the bloody games. It's like they want to completely and utterly destroy everything that he made just because he left them. Excuse me. You know, and it's like, well, taking that attitude is just pissing people off. You know, and it's the reason why he left them to begin with. You know, and it's just, I mean, this is starting to turn into a Square Enix rant, and it's not actually, you know, I've already ranted about Square Enix in my other bloody video, but it's, you know, it's just a prime example of the way that major companies are bloody acting towards their fans these days, and it's like, no, it's within the fans' power to take away their success as much as it is to give it to them, and it's about time people started realising that, not just the companies, but the fans themselves as well, because, you know, we're the ones that were responsible for making them successful. They're only big companies today because we made them big. You know, if we hadn't have been buying their games and everything, they wouldn't have become as successful as they are. And it's about time people started to realise that we can bankrupt them just as much as we can make them successful. It just means that we need to be willing to stand our ground, refuse to buy their blooming games and their merchandise, you know, and prove a point to them, not just turn round and, you know, bitch on forums about, oh, well, I don't like what they've done to this, I don't like what they've done to that. I mean, since Mass Effect 3 was released, I've not bought a single BioWare game, I've not purchased any DLC, I've not purchased any merchandise, and, you know, and I used to buy the Mass Effect books and blooming whatnot. You know, I bought the bloody Mass Effect bloody soundtrack. You know, and it's like, I have not bought a single thing, even remotely related to BioWare, ever since Mass Effect 3. And it's going to take fans being willing to do stuff like that to get the point through to these major companies that we're not willing to, you know, we're not just going to stand by or just sit in a bloody forum and bitch about the crap that they've done to their games. We need to bloody follow through with our threats. You know, if we're going to tell them that if they carry on, we're going to stop buying their games, we need to actually mean it and stop buying their bloody games. And that's the only way that it's going to get through to them. I mean, you know, companies taking the bloody piss. You know, it's like their attitude it's just disgusting, because they've got the attitude of, once someone buys their game, that game still belongs to them because they made it. It's like, no, it doesn't. It belongs to us. We paid for it. We paid for it. We bought it off you. We bought it off you, therefore it belongs to whoever paid the money for it. Not you, not the fucking company anymore. It belongs to the person who paid for it. Therefore, it is up to that person what they want to do with it. If they want to turn round, you know, and make a video of them playing that game to post on YouTube, they're well within their rights to. It's their, you know, it's their property after all. They bought it. You know, if they want to turn round and sell it to a bloody to a shop like Game that deals in second-hand games, that is well within their right to. If they want to turn around and sell it to someone else, they can. It's not right that they're trying to clamp down on the second-hand gaming industry, because it's like, well, no, people paid full price for that game when it was released, and it's within their right to sell it if they want to. They paid for it, it belongs to them. So if they don't like the game, and they can't get their money back for that bloody game, then well, we're within the rights to sell it back, to sell it to somebody who is going to bloody play it. You know, it's not right that they have this attitude of, just because they made it, the games will forever belong to them, regardless of who buys them off them. And it's like, no. Once we bought that game, it belongs to us, not you anymore. It belongs to us. You may have made it, but, I mean, what? Just because somebody builds a bloody table and sells it to someone, does that mean that that table still is? They may have crafted it for themselves, but they sold it to someone else, so it is no longer their property. You know, it is ridiculous. And it's about time the fans started doing something other than bloody ranting in forums about how much these companies pissed them off. It's about bloody time we started backing up our mouths and refusing to put up with it by refusing to buy their shit. You know, so, I mean, I was a major fan of the Mass Effect series. I loved Mass Effect, but, you know, I refuse. Like I said, I've stopped buying the books, I've stopped buying anything to do with Mass Effect. You know, anything to do with BioWare. Because I'm proving a point. You have lost my business. You want my business? You want to keep my business? Earn it. You know? I mean, there is only one company in the gaming industry still, to this day, that all I need to bloody hear is that they made that game. That they made that game and I will go out and buy it. Regardless, I will go out and bloody buy that game. Just on the grounds that, you know, of who made it. I won't need to know anything to do with that game because I've got so much faith in them that all I need to hear is their name mentioned in it and I'm there, day of release. You know, and that is Mistwalker, Hironobu Sakaguchi, Nobu Uematsu, and all their team. All I need to know is that they're involved in making this game, and I'm there, day of release, buying that game. Like I was with Lost Odyssey when it was released. All I needed to hear was made by the creator of Final Fantasy. I didn't need to know anything else about the bloody game other than that, and I was straight out there, and I was not disappointed as a result. Because they are pretty much some of the few people left in the gaming industry that actually makes games for the love of making games and not just for profit. And I will forever put my support behind them. And Square Enix, yeah, I'm Square Enix, like BioWare, if they carry on, I will be withdrawing my support from them. And I won't be buying any more of their games. You know, and there are a few companies like that. I mean, I've already shunned both BioWare and Activision, because Activision milking the Call of Duty series and not actually doing anything about the hackers. You know, it's like, yeah, your game's not that good that I'm willing to put up with you deciding to encourage people to cheat while discouraging people that play, you know, genuinely. And all these people on bloody Call of Duty that rant and rave and hurl all these insults before the game bloody starts. It's like, I'd love to see how long people like that would hold out on a game like Ghost Recon. Because people that actually play Ghost Recon actually have skill and don't need to rely on cheats. You know, so, anyway. I'm just going to leave it at that. Feel free to make up your own mind, but the power is within the fan base to, you know, get it through to these companies. We can make them successful or we can make them bankrupt. We just got to be willing to stand our ground. So feel free to make up your own mind. And I'm sorry for my bird kicking off in the background. She doesn't like me showing anyone else attention, so... yeah, rant over.